Morning students. So today we will talk about corrosion and rancidity. So what is corrosion? Corrosion is actually a natural phenomena. It is actually a natural phenomena in which metal when exposed to environment. So what happens? They react with the environment, gases or moistures or chemicals, and there is a destructive device formed, which is like oxides of them or hydroxides or sulfides, so which is actually tarnishing the layer upper surface of metal. You are very much familiar with rust. Iron is actually a hard material, but when it exposed to air environment, what happens? It reacts with moisture, it reacts with oxygen, moist air, and what it forms? It forms a rust which is reddish brown in color. So this is known as hydrated ferrous sulfate. Hydrated ferrous oxide is actually what? Rust, which is chemically weak. It is reddish brown in color. So this is known as corrosion. And the corrosion of iron is known as rust. So what is corrosion? Corrosion is actually a natural phenomena in which there is a destruction of the surface of metal when exposed to environment, chemicals, and particularly like air or other gases. So every year so much amount of iron is get wasted, damaged due to rust formation. Many buildings, bridges, wherever there is iron, if it is exposed to moisture and air, what happens? It get rusted and get damaged. And there are so many ways to prevent rusting, like galvanizing, then painting. There are so many ways. Okay, now let's talk about other, like copper. Copper is reddish, we can say reddish metal, or we can say reddish brown metal. But when exposed to water, like environment, carbon dioxide gas and oxygen gas, what happens? Moist air, what happens? It forms a green layer color, which is known as copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. So when copper is exposed to moist air, a green layer is formed, so which is actually called corrosion of copper. So copper get tarnished to green color. Same way, when silver is exposed to environment like hydrogen sulfide gas, it forms black layer of silver sulfide. So silver get black layer tarnishing, and iron get rusted reddish brown color. Copper get green color of like layer of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. So this is known as corrosion. Okay, we're going to learn this much about in metals chapter. So this is about corrosion. Now let's talk about rancidity. So what is rancidity? Rancidity is when fats and oils are exposed to air. When are exposed to air, what happens? They get oxidized, the unsaturated fat in them. So like when fats and oils in a food or chips or anywhere, if you are having fats and oil in your food, and over the time due to exposure of air, oxidation reaction take place, and what happens? The flavor get changed. The flavor, the smell, the odor. So flavor, odor, taste get changed, which is an unpleasant odor, unpleasant taste. Okay, unpleasant taste, and such kind of we can say unpleasant taste and odor is known as rancidity, or we can say rancid. So you might have experience, like when you take tiffin poha in your, we can say, tiffin. So sometimes when it is left over, and you forgot to we can say empty, you forgot to take out from your bag. So after 1 or 2 days, what happened? There is a bad false smell coming out of that. So that bad smell is actually known as rancidity, or we can say the food got rancid. The food smell is rancid. So when fats and oils are exposed to air, what happens? They get oxidized, and such phenomena is known as rancidity. So that's why the chips having kind of air in them. So what happens? The chip manufacturer, they flush the we can say chip packets with nitrogen gas just to prevent oxidation. And there are so many antioxidants are added in the food just to prevent the oxidation state. So what is rancidity? When fats and oil are exposed to environment, to oxygen, over the time there is a foul smell coming out of it, or we can say unpleasant odor, unpleasant taste, and this is known as rancidity of food. How to prevent rancidity? By adding antioxidants. And why do chip manufacturers, we can say, add nitrogen gas? Just to prevent the rancidity. And what is, so this was about rancidity and corrosion. If you any doubt, you can ask me.